This is Under Review, the show that talks about Colorado sports with a sprinkling of national sports headlines as well. I'm Jordan Long. Now, in last week's show, I talked about the trade that the Denver Nuggets made, which they hope will improve their team. Now, you can go back and rewatch it to see what I have to say, and that's episode 23 of Under Review. Now, the Nuggets and the rest of the NBA are in the midst of NBA free agency. We know the Nuggets gave center Nikola Jokic the Supermax deal. Now, this was going to happen, but if you look at it, it's a 5-year deal, and the contract is worth $264 million. That keeps him, that is Jokic, in the Mile High City. I know that's a lot of money to pay Nikola Jokic, but this was expected. He is their leader, and they want him to stay in Denver for the rest of his career. Denver hopes to build a championship team, and they are close, especially with a healthy Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray, but they want to build a championship team with Nikola Jokic as their center. He is the back-to-back MVP of the league. Now they hope to have a healthy Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray for this upcoming year. Now, that's really going to take the pressure off of Nikola Jokic as the only playmaker. Teams double team Jokic because they know doing that will put pressure on other players to step up. And it showed last year that they really didn't. But the Nuggets, though, it was still a great accomplishment that they ended the season at 48 wins and 34 losses without Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray. And that was great enough to get the 6th seed in the Western Conference, even though that it was a 5-game loss to the Golden State Warriors. But hey, you still got to the postseason and avoided the play-in tournament. Now, the problem with the Nuggets prior to free agency is they didn't have a backup center to Nikola Jokic. That was their priority in free agency, was to get another big man. Of course, they could have re-signed DeMarcus Cousins. Now, I thought he played just okay here in Denver, and he appeared in 31 games for the Nuggets. In those games, he averaged 13.9 minutes, scoring 8.9 points per game, and grabbing 5.5 rebounds per game. So that's regular season stats, and that was just a sample size, and I liked how he played. Now, I thought he was a fit for the Denver Nuggets because he showed he could play behind Nikola Jokic. Plus, he had a great relationship with Nuggets head coach Michael Malone. I thought, why not bring DeMarcus Cousins back? I figured, hey, you know what? DeMarcus Cousins had a small sample size. He played well in the regular season. How could it hurt to bring him back? Well, his play in the postseason is probably why the Nuggets decide not to bring back DeMarcus Cousins. In the first-round loss to the Golden State Warriors, Cousins averaged 11.4 minutes per game. Now, he was still able to score 10.6 points per game in the 5-game first-round loss to the Golden State Warriors. What probably told the Nuggets not to bring him back was the defense in the series. That was his defense in the series. He wasn't playing great defense, and Golden State took advantage. He rarely was playing his man, and he seemed to get lost on defense. And you can't do that as a big man, especially down low. That allowed Golden State to take advantage. Of course, Golden State won the series in 5 games. Going into the offseason, and I have said it on the show and my blog at sports-scoop.com, that the Nuggets needed to find a backup center for Nikola Jokic. Anytime they had Jokic take a rest. So when Nikola Jokic had to rest, it basically meant that the Nuggets had to play smaller ball. They couldn't defend, that is. They couldn't defend down low in the paint area. Denver's offense also stopped, so they were lucky to win 48 games. Of course, like I said before, that was without Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray. Michael Porter Jr. for most of the year and Jamal Murray for the whole year. Now, that is going to change once these two are healthy. They'll have another playmaker, or should I say 2 playmakers. Anyway, Denver still didn't have a player to play behind center Nikola Jokic. Denver, like I said, could have brought back DeMarcus Cousins, but he wants to be a starter, and the front office must have decided he wasn't the right player moving forward. Cousins is now a free agent looking to be signed by any team. Now, last I heard, the Lakers were interested in him. It could make sense because they need a veteran backup center. Sure, they have Anthony Davis, but you want DeMarcus Cousins because he's a veteran, and he fits that bill of being a veteran center. Plus, Cousins know going there, he will play with Anthony Davis and LeBron James, and when both of those are healthy, they have a chance to win a championship. So do the Denver Nuggets, but you have one of the best players in the NBA in LeBron James and Anthony Davis. When healthy, the Nuggets are a threat to win it all. What more do you want than to actually have a chance to win a championship ring? It could happen in Denver, but the Lakers have shown in the past they are committed to building a championship team, that is, a championship team to win the NBA championship. Teams can also, and they could always use a veteran backup center. The Nuggets went into free agency, and their main goal was to find a backup center. Well, they found their answer. They agreed to a contract with DeAndre Jordan, and he brings in 15 years of NBA experience. Now, last year, he spent time with the LA Lakers and the Philadelphia 76ers. 32 games with the Lakers, 16 with Philadelphia. In both places, he was a backup center. With the LA Lakers, he averaged 12.8 minutes per game, scoring 4.1 points per game. The Lakers, though, decided on February 28th, 2022 to waive him. You know, the thing is, that was probably a good idea because the Lakers weren't going to make the postseason as well, and this gave DeAndre Jordan a chance to actually go to a playoff team. Now, the Lakers ended the season at 33 wins and 49 losses. Now, by waiving DeAndre Jordan, it gave him a chance to sign with any team, and he went to Philadelphia. Philadelphia made the playoffs. But with the Philadelphia 76ers, his play was a bit better, even though that he was a bench player. He averaged 13.4 minutes per game and scored 4.6 points per game. And that helped the 76ers, but it was his defense that actually really improved their team. He collected 5.8 rebounds per game. The 76ers earned a playoff spot with him. Well, what are the Nuggets really getting in DeAndre Jordan? Well, now they have a veteran who can play behind Nikola Jokic. He has shown in the past that as DeAndre Jordan, he can handle being a backup center. When Jokic leaves the floor, the Nuggets don't have to worry about their defense, and it's not going to suffer with DeAndre Jordan out there. Now, his size at 6'11" should also be a factor too. The Nuggets won't have to play as much small ball when Jokic is not on the floor. For the Denver Nuggets, this was a great player to add to the team. Of course, we know DeAndre Jordan has had regular season success. Now, the playoffs are the ultimate goal because they give you a chance to win a ring and do something special. The goal is to win an NBA championship. What the Nuggets want to do is advance further in the postseason. For Jordan, he brings in NBA playoff experience, and that is really hard to come by. He has appeared in 60 playoff games, averaging 30.2 minutes per game and scoring 9.5 points per game. That experience is hard to come by. Denver hopes with the moves they've done this offseason, they will make an even deeper run in the NBA's postseason and be a threat to win the NBA championship. The Nuggets would like nothing more than to make a deeper run in the postseason than the first round. Adding Jordan will more than likely increase their chances of doing something special in the playoffs. The goal is to win an NBA championship, and they feel adding Jordan makes them closer. So I don't hate the move. It's a great move because now you have a center to back up Nikola Jokic. Of course, the Nuggets have to be healthy for them to make a long run in the postseason in the 2022-23 season. The Nuggets, though, should improve on their 48 wins and 34 loss record. So I don't hate the move. I like what Calvin Booth is doing, but, results are going to have to happen in the regular season and the playoffs. We're going to move on to the Colorado Avalanche. The Colorado Avalanche, as we all know, are the Stanley Cup champions. Now, free agency is going to start next Wednesday, and they have a lot of decisions to make, and I talked about that in last week's show. But General Manager Joe Sakic is going to have tough decisions ahead on who to keep on this roster and who to sign. The main goal, though, is to win the Cup next year. They're already the defending champs, so winning the Cup again would be great. I talked on last week's show that I thought defenseman Erik Johnson was going to retire. He really looked like he was going to retire, but if you want to review what I said, go review last week's show. It just felt that Johnson was going to leave hockey, the NHL that is, as a champion. Well, that's not going to happen. Erik Johnson says he's coming back for at least one more year. I can see why. Erik Johnson played in 77 games, the most for him since 2014 when he played 80 games. The fact that he was healthy, it was a great thing for the Avalanche. The guy, he is an offensive defenseman, but he also plays great defense. But if you look at it, Johnson scored 8 goals and had 17 assists for a total of 25 points. If you look at Johnson, he is valuable by forechecking and poke-checking the puck from the defenders. Of course, he can check, but that's the thing is when you poke-check or forecheck, those end scoring chances for the opponents. And like I said, he can also check skaters off the puck. Now that he's coming back, he is once again going to be one of the leaders on this team. He's a veteran, so I like that move. And he's the Avalanche's longest tenured player. Plus, he knows the Avalanche are going to have a great team who most likely will be back in the postseason to defend their title. Looking at that, if you're Erik Johnson, why not try and win 2 in a row? And the thing is, though, especially since the Avalanche had one of their best seasons in recent memory, as well as Erik Johnson had his best season in recent memory. So when Erik Johnson said he was going to be back, the Avalanche wanted to keep another player, Andrew Cogliano. Now, Andrew Cogliano was a deadline deal made by the Avalanche on March 21st. This was a veteran who the Avalanche needed, and he played mostly on the third line. With the Avalanche in 18 regular season games, you don't look at Cogliano's stats from that fact because his stats don't show what kind of a player he was for the Avalanche with 1 assist. So basically, throw the regular season stats away when he played for the Avalanche for 18 games. Of course, that was only a sample size after the trade. Now, he was great on the power play kill, and he helped the Avalanche get the puck out of their defensive zone to kill time off of their penalties. Great skater in the regular season, but the playoffs are what mattered, and that's why they traded for him. Over the course of his career, going into the season, he actually appeared in 100 playoff games prior to the postseason run for the Avalanche. Now, that's a lot of playoff games, so he knew how to play in big games. Colorado was thinking adding him would boost the team and hopefully help them win the Cup, which it ultimately did. Cogliano in the playoffs scored 3 goals and added 3 assists during the championship run, I should say. So when they had the run to the Stanley Cup, Cogliano had 3 goals and added 3 assists. Would they have won the Cup without Cogliano? It's still possible, but the guy was still an added depth player for the Avalanche to win the Cup. I know he didn't produce much, but that is not why they got him. They got him because he's a veteran player and his veteran leadership showed. Supposedly, before game 6, I should say, of the Stanley Cup final, he actually gave a speech. So that shows you what kind of veteran he is. Now, once the season ended, after they had won the Cup, Colorado right now is figuring out what players to keep. Now, free agency hits next Wednesday, which is July 13th. They had to make a decision quickly with Cogliano, and they agreed to a deal, which is 1 year, worth $1.25 million. It's a great deal because Cogliano may not have many more seasons, but the Avs wanted to keep him. Colorado saw what kind of player Cogliano is, not only in the regular season, but the postseason as well. He's going to be on the third line, but should see some time on the power play kill as well. He's a veteran who can help the Avalanche make another deep run in the NHL playoffs. I know Cogliano isn't the big name the Avalanche fans were hoping to see, but it's still basically a piece you need. You wanted to see Valerie Nichushkin, Andre Burakovsky, or Nazem Kadri, but those contracts are still up for grabs. Who knows if they're going to stay? I know Valerie Nichushkin is close to a contract with the Avalanche. But for Cogliano, this was a smart move by General Manager Joe Sakic to keep the veteran on the team. Of course, Colorado will make more moves, and Colorado, no matter what is going to happen in NHL free agency, they're a threat still to not only win their division, but to make another deep run. They are going to be the defending champions until someone knocks them off. So there's still decisions to be made, but Andrew Cogliano was a great move. We're going to finish up this show with the NFL. Now, training camps in the NFL are going to open up in 2 weeks. The earliest teams who will be reporting to camp are the Buffalo Bills and the Las Vegas Raiders. They both open up camp on July 19th with rookies heading to camp. The local team here in Colorado, and if you know the show, I talk about them constantly, the Denver Broncos, and they will start camp on July 26th. Now, once camp opens for the Denver Broncos, here's a little teaser. I will talk about position battles, the ones that I think are important for you to know who's battling it out and who might be the starter and the backup for those positions. We all know how important those battles can be because they make players better. Well, we're going to talk about the Chicago Bears. There have been many rumors about the Chicago Bears and a new stadium. The Bears bought land to possibly build a new stadium. Now it's at Arlington Heights Racetrack. Now let's just say they were to build a stadium there. It's not, a science saying that, yes, they're going to build a stadium there, but they have the money to build a stadium and they actually have the area there. Let's just say they do. Well, where they play now, Soldier Field, which is located in downtown Chicago, if you look at Arlington Heights, it's anywhere between 29.8 and 39.2 miles from Soldier Field, or 45 minutes to an hour from downtown to get there. Okay, I get it. You want a nice new facility. It's not the worst location, but that is still a drive for fans. But to me, I really would like to see them stay in the heart of downtown. It doesn't make sense to move the team that far. You're looking at, again, 29.8 miles and 39.2 miles, or 45 minutes to an hour outside of downtown. Now, I get that teams want a new stadium, state of the art, but there's nothing wrong with Soldier Field. Back in 2002, they actually renovated the stadium to what it is today. Now, the Bears were forced to play home games in Champaign, Illinois. That's even further from downtown. That's where the University of Illinois plays. That is 134 miles south of Chicago, or almost 2 hours away. I mean, that's still a long drive, but that's what they had to do if they were going to renovate the stadium, which they did. That was a long trip for fans, but it was worth it for a year. So you're looking at that, and the renovations are only 20 years old. For stadiums, I mean, that doesn't seem that old. There is no reason to want to build a new one. Why not renovate it yet again? It makes sense. The one idea that might make the most sense, and it came out this week, the idea by Mayor Lori Lightfoot is to renovate the stadium again. I get it. They did it not too long ago, so you could renovate it again. The idea is, though, for the Bears to stay downtown and somehow add a dome to Soldier Field. The dome isn't the worst idea for Chicago. We know that it's a cold site to play games. So you're looking at December and January, and there's snow on the ground. It's really cold for fans. But you know what? Who cares? Fans will actually be warm for those games because they will dress warm. Adding a dome, though, wouldn't make it so they wouldn't have to worry about the weather. I think I like that idea. There's no weather to worry about. The downside, though, with this is I always enjoy a snowy game or a cold game. I know it doesn't make for great football, but seeing snow on the ground, it makes for some good scenes. Nothing better than watching a football game in the snow. So what would a dome bring in? Well, of course, great football weather. You don't have to worry about weather because it's a controlled climate. So from that standpoint, it could make sense. You're not going to have the bad turnovers due to weather, fumbles with weather, or even the fact that teams can't pass because of weather. So from that standpoint, it makes sense. Also, adding a dome could help Chicago maybe even earn a spot to have the Super Bowl there. That is the ultimate goal if you're an NFL franchise, is you want the Super Bowl held in your city. Now, the NFL tried a cold weather site in New York for Super Bowl 48. They got lucky that there wasn't much weather, but to see a Super Bowl in snowy weather wouldn't have been fun. It would have affected the game so much. I know in the regular season and the postseason, that is fun to see weather affecting games, not in the Super Bowl. I don't want weather to affect games. Of course, we have seen rain in the Super Bowl, but at least in Miami, it was warm, so it's not that big of a deal. Now, like I said, they have played the Super Bowl in the rain, and it's much better. So the fact that Chicago is a cold weather city, they will never host a Super Bowl. By adding a dome, they could be in the mix for a Super Bowl. That is every NFL city's dream, is to host a Super Bowl. Think about it. If you host a Super Bowl, the city, whatever city it's in, gets a lot of revenue with media, fans, and even players eating out in restaurants and going to, tourist spots. In this case, for Chicago, it's museums. It would be the best idea to add a dome if that's what it takes to keep the Chicago Bears in downtown Chicago. Now, the only downside with a dome is how much it would cost. Now, to make a dome, according to CBSSports.com, and this came out just this week, it would likely require taxpayer contributions with costs estimated between $400 million and $1.5 billion. That's just to add a dome to Soldier Field. Looking at the price tag, would it be worth it? I mean, if it's $1.5 billion, then no, because you could build a new stadium for about that. But if it's $400 million or less, then why not? Now, the thing is, for $1.5 billion, which is on the higher side, like I just said, you could make a whole new stadium without a dome, or you could build a new stadium with a dome. It's just, that's a lot of money. Now, the Chicago Bears will do what they feel is right. It just feels like the better idea is to stay in downtown Chicago. Now, I don't know what other upgrades Soldier Field needs, because a lot of stadiums do need, upgrades to their stadium. I don't know what it needs, but if they need more, why not add a dome? Then you at least have a place to play football and stay in downtown Chicago. Either way, though, the Bears should find a way to stay in downtown Chicago. Of course, that is up to the ownership to figure out what they want to do. I know the mayor wants them to stay in downtown Chicago, but honestly, it's not up to her. It's up to the Chicago Bears front office and their ownership. They're the ones that are going to have to decide. I'm Jordan Long. This has been Under Review. Read my blog that I write Mondays through Thursdays with podcasts on Fridays at sports-scoop.com. Now check out all the shows we have on the Sideline Sports Network. We have shows every single day. Please subscribe so you don't miss any of them. This has been a Sideline Sports production.